We begin tonight here with the historic debate just a short time from now. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, the first debate between a sitting president and a former one, the two oldest major party candidates ever, 78 and 81. We will carry the debate live right here on ABC just a short time from now. The two candidates will appear on this debate stage right here in Atlanta. Their podiums right there are about 8 feet apart. There are strict rules in place tonight. No audience. The mics will be muted when it's not their time to speak. President Biden arriving late this afternoon at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, Georgia, after spending the better part of this past week in debate prep at Camp David, holding mock 90-minute debates. Donald Trump arriving a short time ago at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. No mock debates for him, but some policy sessions with advisors behind the scenes. Trump has said he's been preparing his whole life for this. Tonight, we will break it all down, including where this race stands going into tonight. Several new national polls out in the last 24 hours where they show this race right now and why each candidate needs a very strong showing tonight to move the needle, given how close this race is. ABC's Rachel Scott leading us off tonight at the debate site. She's in Atlanta for us.
President Biden arriving in Atlanta surrounded by cheering supporters. Just hours before tonight's history-making debate. For the first time, a sitting president and a former president squaring off on the debate stage. The White House tonight saying the stakes could not be higher.
So I'm on my way to Atlanta. You probably have heard, about the debate.
The First Lady with this message for Americans watching at home.
So I want you tonight, when you see them both debating, I want you to hear Joe's words. But most of all, I want you to listen to his heart.
Donald Trump touching down here in Atlanta just minutes ago. For months, the former president has mocked Biden's stamina and questioned his mental fitness. But as the debate approached, Trump's tone changed.
I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater. Yeah, I would say. I think okay. I don't want to underestimate him.
Tonight, the two candidates will stand behind podiums 8 feet apart. There will be no studio audience. Trump has complained about that. But sources close to the campaign tell me they hope it keeps him on message. And another big difference. The candidates' microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak, an effort to prevent another scene like this.
The radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
President Biden tonight seeking to draw a direct contrast with his rival, preparing to call out Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election and the Capitol riot on January 6th.
He's willing to sacrifice our democracy, put himself in power.
Trump's team telling me they've prepared for those attacks, and they're advising Trump to focus on other issues: immigration, crime, and the economy.
We had the greatest economy ever, and he's got an economy that is so bad with inflation.
Donald Trump and President Biden have not seen each other since they last stepped off the debate stage 4 years ago. And tonight, they'll meet again in the most consequential moment yet of this campaign.
4 years ago, and yet here we are again tonight. Let's get live to Rachel Scott. She's at the debate site right there in Atlanta in the spin room, where, of course, both campaigns will spin their candidates' performances after the debate. Rachel, you mentioned there in your report, no studio audience tonight. The candidates will only have their mics turned on when it's their turn to speak. From my understanding, they're also not allowed to have any sort of pre-written notes. They can write something once they get in there. And they're not allowed to confer with aides during the debate's 2 commercial breaks.
David, no conversations with aides or advisors. The candidates also will not allowed to bring anything pre-written on that debate stage. They will be allowed to write notes down once they do get behind the podium. And once this debate begins, it is just the two candidates and the moderators all alone for 90 minutes. No studio audience to cheer them on. We'll see whether those mock debates that the president has been doing will ultimately pay off, and which version of Donald Trump shows up tonight. The former president who's on the attack, or a much more measured version of the former president who wants to stay on message, David.
Rachel, thanks so much for leading us off tonight. Let's get right to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, with me here in New York. It's impossible to overstate the stakes for the current president, the sitting president, Joe Biden, who is aware of the poll numbers, obviously, going into tonight. Also aware of the questions about age and fitness, though both of them, 78 and 81. And on the economy, which has been such a difficult issue for him, created millions of jobs. Inflation is easing, but we hear voters tell us over and over again that they feel as though their money simply isn't going as far.
Well, look, the campaign, first of all, is well aware of what is on the line here tonight. And the president's goal here is to hammer into voters the enormity of what is at stake in this race. He has been doing it for months out on the campaign trail, but never before in this race has he had an opportunity to reach an audience this large. And they feel that, look, Donald Trump supporters aren't going anywhere. That is fully baked. But they do feel that he doesn't have a lot of room to grow. So the president tonight is going to try to reach out to those critical, independent, undecided voters and see if he can convince them to join him. But perhaps more important than the substance, many voters will be paying close attention to his performance. The president has to convince voters who are concerned about his age that he can do this, and also convince worried Democrats that he can win, David.
And the question, the independents put him over the top last time. Will they do it again this time, 4 years later? Mary Bruce, stick right there. You're with us for the coverage tonight. Let's bring in Rick Klein, our political director, over at the big board tonight. And Rick, of course, these new national polls that are just out tonight, they show just how close this race is. And, of course, our new 538 polls of polls.
Exactly, David. If you look at the latest polls that we have nationally of anything from a Trump 6-point lead to a Biden 2-point lead, and you combine it all together, and our 538 polling average has it basically tied, just 0.2 of a percentage point separating the candidates. And it hasn't moved for months. If anything, maybe a slight bump for Biden since Trump's criminal conviction a month ago. But it is tight as can be. And when it comes to the big issues that voters want to hear about tonight and through the campaign, look at the big ones. Inflation, half the country says that's important to their vote. Immigration, more than a third of the country. Those are both Trump advantages, big edges in Trump's trust to handle those issues over Biden. The big Biden issues, including political extremism and abortion rights, a little bit lower on the priority list, David.
So when you look at those numbers, President Biden fully aware that on inflation, immigration, he's got to make this case tonight. All right, Rick Klein of the big board, Mary Bruce with us at the desk. You'll all be here just a short time from now. The debate live right here on ABC. You can watch the CNN presidential debate. Of course, we're going to carry it here on our network. Our team will be right here starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to help set up the night right here. Then, of course, the debate at 9 p.m. So 8 p.m. for the whole thing. And then we'll all watch together this debate at 9 p.m. here on ABC.